It's that time again, everyone. Scared Shiftless Part 4 is here, and in today's video, I'm going to try my best to finish up the main structures of this map. If you guys haven't seen the past few videos, what the heck, man? I'm kidding. Just go ahead and check them out to get the full series so far. As you all just saw from this valley being created, this was actually the Gothic Ice Age section, which was actually the section represented here by Bennett Foddy in his game Getting Over It, which is the game I'm basing my parkour course off of. That's hard to say. What I decided to theme this section off of was largely a play on the words I used to title these two sections in Foddy's game in one of my videos. And as you guys can see, I've quite literally turned this into a Death Zone, Ice Age sort of area. Some of my more favorite details I've created are these little frozen figures, each one having been frozen for probably a few millennia, these ancient scraggly bones protruding from the ground and walls, and the veins of ice slowly but surely freezing the rocky surface. Parkour wise, I thought it'd be best, instead of just showing you guys, to actually demonstrate how this parkour looks, because it looks very simple, but it's really not. When we go up here and jump over here onto these heads, this is what I've got for the first part of the section, our head parkours, which you got to wrap around the corners, jump onto the blocks, and wrap around. It's kind of tough, that jump right there, but it's really kind of like innocent looking, while it's really not that easy to do. But if you get up there and go around and do the head jumps, you jump onto the pillars and eventually get to the next section of the parkour course, which if we jump around, I'll just skip this part. Cut. More like a strategic skip in film. So the second part of the parkour actually involves this ice, and this is where ice is actually introduced for the very first time. But along with the ice, because this is a very crammed kind of cave in here, along with the ice, I also have a bunch of head hitters. If we fly right up here, you can see there are head hitters that you have to do to get all the way across to get to this section over here. And this is kind of like the second safe zone, right? If you fall down right here, you're not going to go all the way to the bottom. Same with out here. If you fall right here, you're not going to go all the way to the bottom. But having that slippery element does make this a lot more difficult to do these jumps, and the head hitters are just a pain. At this point, I had more or less actually completed the Death Zone and the Gothic Ice Age sections, and I now knew what I wanted the floating ice smile section to be. Because I was already high up in the mountains, I thought a cool and fitting way to create this section would be using prayer flags that you jump across. Prayer flags, for those of you who don't actually know, are a common sight when summoning Everest in real life, so I definitely had fun messing around with creating these. But the way I place these would be very similar to the layout in Foddy's game, where the jumps aren't necessarily that tough, but they're scary, slippery, and you can easily mess up. And if you do mess up, you have a chance at falling pretty far down, either to the Gothic Ice Age section, or even the very beginning, although it's a slim chance. And I know right here, it looked like it didn't really have a good chance of actually falling all the way down to the beginning. Eventually, I will have you jumping over this ledge, so that's a bit more sketchy. But let me go ahead, I'll showcase what these jumps kind of feel like, how they look, so you guys can see that they're really not that bad, but they're sketchy. So after you completed this ice cave right here, we jump right here, we go ahead, jump across onto this log, or spruce plank, and it's not that bad of a jump. Like, that's not that bad of a jump, but if you mess up, you're gonna have to do all this again, and I know that the inside the ice cave is really annoying. So you get that running start, nice, perfect. Right here, there's a strategic spot to jump, which is that little small slab right there, and if you get it just perfectly, nice, you land right here, and then you'll eventually continue on to what we're gonna work on next, which is this next part that will be right here. And this next part is going to be the most dynamic evil duo that's probably ever roamed this Minecraft world. That's right, if you know the game well enough, we've got the snake and the bucket. What the snake is, it's a one-way path, literally all the way back to the beginning, and the few that have suffered this path have most definitely regretted it. And the bucket, well, it's actually extremely unique, as it's the only obstacle in all of Bennett Foddy's game that showcases elasticity and kinetic energy, and that as you get onto the bucket moves and swings around with you. So when it came time to figure out how to incorporate this into Minecraft, I went ahead and I built this contraption here. With a warning much like the one given in Bennett Foddy, I tried to let the player know that they could use this kinetic obstacle very poorly or very well. What this obstacle does is basically when you press the button, 3 TNT are simultaneously exploded, launching the player sky high. The one thing I did notice, however, with this was a problem I knew I'd have to face sooner or later, and that was, with being launched sky high, you could see all around the entire world. I knew at this point, it was time to make an entire mountainscape and time-lapse it all. And with the problem now hidden by an entire landscape of mountains, this definitely took me a while. It was time to move on to the next stage. But first, I thought it'd be cool to show you guys just how scary these TNT jumps are. Okay, and with testing it, what I actually did too is I put this sign right here as well. Don't try and cheat barriers, because I didn't want people to use the TNT blast to actually cheat the system. So I do have a bunch of barriers here, but as long as you jump to where you're supposed to, that shouldn't be a problem at all. But let me go ahead and showcase you. What it basically does is when you press this button, you jump and get launched. And that was a horrible jump right there. You can already see that the pressure there of messing up is definitely there. But if I do that and jump up, I figured that's the best way to do it. If you jump and press the button at the same time, it's not bad. But right here, you've got that hole right there that you can totally fall down if you mess this up. And we'll see if we can get it. If we do it. Oh, okay. And, oh, just barely. And you can see, if I didn't stop myself in creative, I would have kept falling possibly into the jail cell. So it's really sketchy, but definitely doable. You just got to have perfect timing, which is definitely not the easiest thing to do, but there we go. There we go. That was safe. And from there, I'll have this last TNT blast. So now you're pretty much sort of safe. You can still definitely fall, but I'll have this TNT blast so that you have to go up, and it can definitely blast you backwards. It'll have you go kind of up right here onto the next platform to start the next stage. So this now meant I had basically every stage done within the game except the final two. The slip and slide, which is this crazy ice cliff Fadi created, and the radio tower of run killers. With building the slip and slide, I actually decided to just go ahead and borrow Fadi's theme for once and make my own icy cliff side. The special thing about this cliff was the fact that it went basically straight up, and with loads of ice jumps and glass pane jumps and no shifting, the possibility of falling off here was definitely there. Except if you did end up falling, there was a really huge chance you might fall all the way back to the beginning. That's kind of the point of the game, right? As of right now, I haven't actually added any especially cool features other than having this epic rocky ice cliff side, but for right now, I definitely think it's cool enough. And I can definitely say, even though the aesthetics are super cool, the parkour, well, it's not actually that cool. It's kind of annoying and really tough. The jumps that I've included here, so like I said before, there are a lot of ice jumps and there are a lot of glass pane jumps, but they're really, really sketchy. The way I've created this, it is very like intuitive on where to go, and if you were to try to go this way, you can't because barriers. It's very intuitive on the way to go, but the jumps, they're just so sketchy and so difficult. Right here, you gotta jump around this little edge. This isn't too bad right here. This jump, I actually had to tweak a little bit because it was a bit too hard. No, not this jump. Yes, this jump. I've had to tweak a few of them because they were just way too hard. In the ice cliff in the actual game, it's supposed to be definitely tough, but it's not supposed to be impossible. Oh, see right there. That's sketchy. I would have totally been scared if that happened, but I can use this cannon. I have a lot of save spots like this too, where you fall down and you get caught. But like I said, the ice cliff is kind of meant to be difficult, but not impossible, and my jumps were getting on they were borderline kind of impossible. Woo! Oh gosh, I fell down and got caught again right there from that stone slab. Wow. So I did have to do some tweaking and just make this more slippery than sketchy, but there definitely are a lot of sketchy parts. There's even a section where you go on the interior and everything, but I won't showcase the whole thing. Instead, I'll wait for you guys to be able to play it yourself. Just wait until you guys get access to this. This is gonna be so awesome. So with all this being done, it was time to finally move on to the very final obstacle, which is, again, what I like to call the radio tower of run killers. This seemingly innocent looking radio tower, when you go to the top, doesn't seem too bad at first, but I can promise that it's horrific. It goes straight up and has very, very tight edges. If you mess up and fall, you might fall into the slip and slide, which might plummet you even to the very beginning. So with this final obstacle in place, I knew exactly what I wanted to build. It was time to pay homage to Bennett Foddy. And using the background as inspiration at the very beginning of getting over it, I would go ahead and build the same lighthouse showcased there. Building this final obstacle felt so liberating and freeing, knowing that I was just about done with this entire project. It also felt so satisfying just seeing how far this project had already come. With the lighthouse in place, I knew there were still a few things I had to do before calling this episode Fiend. One of those things being asking you guys what I should do for my next video in terms of adding random decorational builds. One of my plans next episode is to add loads of fun and random features to fit the Foddy style a bit more, so be sure to comment that down below. The second thing I realized was that I still had a lot more mountains to add, but I'll do that off camera. And the final thing was just to showcase to you guys sort of what this last lighthouse parkour actually looked like. Which, as you can see so far from my parkour attempts, oh man. This is basically a lot of really tight edges like I described before, because that's what the lighthouse kind of is. So a lot of tight edges with glass panes. Over here you gotta kind of sneak around these walls and everything. And that's what this is, jumping around edges, having really sketchy jumps that you really don't have a big danger of falling all the way down, but they're super sketchy, super hard to get. This one specifically is ridiculously tough to get. I know it's possible because I did it earlier when testing, but my gosh, you have to get like on the very edge and you have to sort of wrap around, which I did it. Oh, wow, I did that really quickly. So you can see, there's a lot of, it's not as intuitive too to know where to go, but as long as you look around, you'll eventually find the right spot to go. Right here, you actually go a little bit into the tower on the inside. I showcased this a tiny bit, but I didn't actually showcase this while building it. The interior is basically some ruined staircases in the middle of the lighthouse. It's really cool. But right here, you gotta watch out for your head because there's a wall right there. Yeah, like I said, it's just a lot of really tight jumps. It takes a little bit of time to get up here, and if you fail, if you fall all the way down here, you have to go out the door and you have to restart the lighthouse again, which isn't horrible, but that's basically the parkour all the way up to the very top. Eventually you find this ladder, climb up, and then you get to this point where you climb at the top right here, and that's it. That's like the finish of the entire map. But like I said earlier, the map is not 100% finished yet because there's still some other things I have to do, some mountains I have to add, and some features I would like to add as well. So stay tuned for the final episode because that's what the next one of this series will be, is the final one. Stay tuned for that. I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. If you did, make sure to leave a like and subscribe because that always really does help me out. But with that said, I hope you guys enjoyed. See you in the next one. Enjoy life, enjoy Minecraft, and ciao!